Greetings, pioneers! I'm Henry Silver, and welcome to my very first video for Satisfactory. I definitely have other videos planned, but I figured I'd start off with a quick tips and tricks video. Now, I'm fairly new to Satisfactory. I didn't start playing until after the 1.0 launch. Once I started playing, though, it hooked me fast. Now that I'm over 1,000 hours in game, I thought I'd share a few tips that I've picked up and wished I'd known sooner. Let's start off by simply saying don't sleep on blueprints. Once you unlock the Mark I Blueprint Designer, you will be able to use this incredibly useful tool to massively decrease the amount of time you spend mindlessly placing the same piece over and over and over and over and over again. Once you have the Mark I unlocked, you could even copy blueprints made by other players into the blueprints file on your drive and immediately use them in-game, assuming you have the required resources to build the blueprint. So make your own or find a helpful YouTuber who's posted their blueprints for others to use. Shameless plug, I'll drop a link to my Discord in the description. I have over 30 blueprints, both large and small, readily available for players to download and use. And here is one last tip about blueprints before we move on. While you are required to have the necessary resources to build a blueprint, you don't need to have the required cosmetic unlocks in the Awesome Shop. For example, here's a blueprint for a building that makes AI limiter. This one's a personal favorite of mine, and let's say you decide you like the look of this and download it, but wait! You haven't unlocked anything in the Awesome Shop yet, and this blueprint is made entirely with stuff from the Awesome Shop. Doesn't matter. As long as you have the right materials to build the blueprint, you can. Now, you won't be able to copy or do anything to any of the pieces you haven't unlocked, but they will still show up in game. My next tip is to prioritize getting Mercer spheres and Summers loops. They're almost always guarded by local fauna, but they are worth the time and risk. The spheres will help upgrade your dimensional storage once you unlock it, but the Summers loops are the real MVP. Using Summers loops, you can unlock the node production augmentation in the alien technology tree of the MAM. Once you unlock this node, you can add Summers loops to any machine and double its output without needing any more resources. With this, you can double the amount of power shards you get from power slugs and quadruple the amount of DNA canisters you get from alien proteins. My last few tips all involve the MAM. At the MAM, you can decode hard drives you find at crash sites. Once decoded, these will give you a choice between two alternate recipes. You are able to re-roll your choices one time only. There is also a small chance that one of your choices could be extra inventory slots instead of a recipe. The issue with this is that all alternate recipes aren't created equal. There are a few that are absolute garbage, but most are different items to make the same end item as your vanilla recipes. However, there are a few that give you the ability to make end items in much larger quantities per minute than the vanilla recipes. But the alternate recipes you get to pick from are randomly determined, so how can you stack the deck, per se, in your favor, so that you see the recipes you want? There are two ways to do this. I'll tell you both, and you could pick whichever one works best for you. The easiest way is once the hard drive has been decoded and you open it, but before you click the reroll button, leave the MAM menu and save your game. Now go back into the MAM menu, click on hard drives to bring up a list of opened hard drives that you haven't picked a recipe from. Click on the drive and click reroll. If you don't like either of the rerolled choices, leave the MAM menu and reload the last save you made. When you load back in, go back to the MAM menu and the drive will still be there, not rerolled. Repeat the reroll process until you get a recipe you want. Now, if this seems a bit too save scummy for you, there is another way that's a little slower. Once a hard drive has been opened, re-rolled or not, as long as you don't pick one of the choices, it stays active in the MAM menu. When a new drive is opened, any recipes already assigned to an opened but unpicked drive are removed from the randomizer pool. So leaving a drive with two garbage alternate recipes active but unpicked in the MAM menu means that those two recipes will never show up on another hard drive. The more drives you have like this, the more likely the randomizer will give you a good recipe pick. My last tip is something that I stumbled across purely by accident, and mostly because I'm an impatient fucker. I used to get annoyed by finding a hard drive a long ways away from my main base in MAM. Inevitably, I'd start back towards my base in the MAM, run across a bunch of spiders, die horribly, rinse repeat multiple times, finally making it back to my main base hours later. So I started building small satellite bases closer to exploration areas and putting up MAMs there. Then I realized that the research started at a satellite base MAM was still active and had progressed when I got back to my main base MAM. Then I had a thought. What if all the MAMs you built were just reflections of the one true MAM? Okay, clearly I've been editing for way too long. That's an extremely hyperbolic way of saying this. All MAMs seem to share the same memory. So when you're out exploring and you find a hard drive, stop right there, build a MAM, insert the hard drive, start it decoding, and then delete the MAM. Go about your business, exploring and whatnot. And 10 minutes later, Ada will also helpfully ding and tell you that a hard drive has been decoded. Stop where you are, build a MAM, and open the hard drive. Pick your recipe or not. Delete the MAM and continue as you were. And that's going to do it for my tips and tricks video. Hopefully you found something useful. If you did, please do the YouTube things. Stay tuned to the channel for Satisfactory live streams, both solo and co-op. And coming soon, a new tutorial on a super quick and easy way to make circles of varying sizes. I'm Silver, and thank you for your time.